be back with you too. Today is just on the heels of Valentine's Day, right? So, testing, there we go. So I wanted to do an immersion in Rumi with us today, and in particular to talk about the relationship between Rumi and Shams. I've never talked about that before, and it's interesting to delve into it. How many of you have read Rumi poetry? Look at that. And how did this happen? Rumi lived 800 years ago in a little town in Turkey. How did this happen? That we, in the 21st, he had a great agent. Well, that's the question I'd like to ponder in our hearts today. How is it that almost everywhere you go, across this world, everybody knows about Rumi's poetry and Rumi's love? So, to begin with, I'd like to take you into a little imaginary journey. I'd like you to imagine with me, just a few minutes, a land far from here, halfway across the world. It's an arid land, mountainous in part desert, harsh land, unforgiving of miscalculations, weather, soil, harsh and dry, unforgiving of human error, a place that if you get lost, you can die of thirst quite rapidly, beautiful in its starkness and in its grandeur. Certain names consistently surface in this dry, barren, magical world. Zarathustra, 600 BCE. Alexander the Great, 330 AD. The Great Silk Road, the Buddha, Genghis Khan, Tamerlane, Jalad and Rumi, Mevlana, Shams of Tabriz, Rumi, Shams. Now imagine a very small village in a nook of a canyon in this desert. A village with some 800 years from now, when it used to have lush vegetation. It used to have a sophisticated irrigation system and a thriving population. Now it's sparsely populated. Imagine being a recent arrival in this forbidding land and coming upon this small village. Imagine becoming aware of a great crowd of people focused on a swirl of movement, drums and flutes and dust. Imagine heat, a diffusion of sun and shadow, dust, energy, something indefinable emanating from this swirl. Imagine becoming caught up in this energy, this mystery. Imagine being drawn to it, seeing all these individual barefoot figures dressed in loose-fitting white swirling garments, long dark hair streaming around their shoulders, with tall hats on, some playing drums and reed flutes, dancing in a loose circle. The movement and passion of the dance increase. Occasionally a dancer drops out, falls aside, and lays there. The others continue without interrupting the rhythm, the intensity, almost a frenzy. You get caught up in this passion so much that you want to join the dancers too. But you know it's not for you in this time, this place. But maybe it was once you, being in the dance. This was like my introduction to the dervish dance, the whirling dervish, when I visited Turkey. The magnetism of this whirling, swirling dance gives expression to the mystical Sufi who's yearning for union with God. When you see it, it pulls on your soul like an irresistible whirlpool of longing for the union with the only thing that will satisfy your soul. Let's pray together right now and pray in a blessing on our gathering here today. Oh, great mystery, Creator, our beloved, We were born to unite with you and with our fellow humans, and to join in the community of the human race. When we try to pick out something by itself, we find it is hitched to everything else in the universe. So we come to this hour of worship today, seeking to remember our union with you, our beloved. We come to this place with our spiritual friends to remember our union with each other, and indeed with all our brothers and sisters on this planet, no matter their nation of allegiance, their gender, their religion, their sexual orientation, or who they choose to love. We proclaim today in our hearts that we are the people of love. We proclaim that we are one with the great love. We come to this moment to silently listen to our own hearts and to know the love that burns deep within us, this love for union, this love for you. So come to us now. May we feel you in this hour. May we touch in and remember how very tenderly you love us, how faithfully you guide us. May our acts of worship here be of benefit, O Holy One, to all sentient beings on our beloved planet Earth, our home. Amen. You know, Rumi has written volumes, and there are other wonderful love poets too that we all love. And I wonder if you've heard of the love poet of modern times named Sunny. Sunny. She's a woman, and she writes her love poetry only on the internet. She has a blog, and she spends her days, just like Rumi did, writing love poetry to the world, to you, to me, out there. So, with Richard playing again behind, I'd like to read you a love poem from Sunny. And I wonder if you might like to, in your heart, receive it for you, but also think of somebody that you love, somebody who's loved you, and use it as a poem of gratitude and thankfulness to them for the love that they've given you. You. Do you know how beautiful you are? Do you have any idea about the corner of the world that gets lit up because of your existence? Do you know about the brightness that is held in your every breath? Do you know what magnificence is sealed within your story? Do you know that love wrote a letter in your bones on the day that you were born? And that every moment of your life is about revealing that letter? Do you have any idea about the preciousness of your every motion and the gifts that you bestow on us even when you trip and fall? Your wins are for you, but what you give from your fallings you'll never know. A light exists in you that is ancient and breathless and beyond every nuance of your mind. Yes, it shines when you smile, but it burns white-hot brilliance when you cry, because that's when you open. That's when you bloom like the full phase of the moon. You are all that luminosity and more. You are the undoing of the worlds, the unraveling of the old one, like the grandmother's sweater worn thin. You break through barriers and find the sun. You are my heart. You are my hope. My truth that can't be taken. You change the game. You rewrite the rules. You set the world on fire and then you wash it clean. You know, you show up for me again and again and again. You astound me in your forgetting of what I do wrong and your remembering of how I love you. What I really want to say is that you move me. And this moving is a sharing that rocks this wicked world, this beautiful world that we like to call wicked because we've forgotten that it's only us in disguise. What I really want to say is that you knock my socks off. And that I smile for the day that we all stop pretending we don't know each other, we don't love each other, and that we meet in the middle with a warm embrace, laughing with abandon over the wild and woolly wonder of this family and this fastly fading dream. Thank you for receiving that gift and for sending it out to somebody else that you love. Jane, would you sing our first song? As Jane sings this song to us, I want you to think about how you want to be loved and how you want to love.
Ready, Richard? Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. Oh, for my darling, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me long, take me to your heart, for it's there that I belong and will never part. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me deep, tell me you are mine, I'll be yours through all the years, till the end of time. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will.
Tell you you're going to be immersed in love. Well, Rumi, he was born in a remote town that you heard me describe a little while ago called Balkh, which is in what is now Afghanistan. He was born to a scholarly family on September 30th, 1207. In the West, we know him as Rumi, but that word actually means the Anatolian. In the East, he's called Mevlana Rumi. In Turkey, he's just called Mevlana, and that means our master. Rumi's father was a great Islamic teacher, known throughout the Middle East as the Sultan of Scholars. When Rumi was a teenager, the Mongols invaded his homeland, and his father took his family on a 7-year pilgrimage. They fulfilled the 5th pillar of Islam, the Hajj it's called, by going to Mecca. They also visited Nishapur, Baghdad, Jerusalem, Damascus, Erzincan, that's in modern eastern Turkey. And each city they visited, Rumi's father, the Sultan of Scholars, was asked to preach and teach. So his fame went far and wide. Along the way, his son became an Islamic scholar as well. He married the daughter of another scholar who traveled with the family. In 1229, the Sultan of Scholars settled in Konya, where the Seljuk ruler built a college, it was called a madrasa, for the family to live and teach in. After his father's death, Rumi left Konya and traveled again to study the Sufi tradition. He studied for about 9 years in Syria and Damascus. When he returned in 1240, he became a Sufi teacher called a sheikh. So he was an expert on the laws and on theology. He spoke Arabic, Persian, Greek, and he had a focus on Sufi wisdom. He soon himself had a large following of students and disciples. But Rumi's path drastically changed in the year 1244. A wandering mystic known as Shams al-Din of Tabriz came to Konya, and he became the teacher of Rumi, the teacher. In the tradition of Sufi saints, Shams concealed his mystical practices with extreme poverty. He concealed his close connection to the divine by continually moving around and refusing to stay in any of the Sufi lodges or seminaries. Rather, he lived out under the stars. The meeting of Rumi and Shams was a grand event in the mystical evolution of the planet, says Coleman Barks. You know, he's the translator of a lot of Rumi. The meeting of Rumi and Shams was a grand event in the mystical evolution of the planet. With their friendship, categories of teacher, student, lover, beloved, master, disciple, all dissolved. Rumi was 37. He'd become an accomplished doctor of theology, the center of his own divinity school. He was respected. He dressed in beautiful clothes. He was a refined lover of the beautiful and the good, a scholar, an artist. Can't you picture that? When Rumi walked around town, people bowed to him. Mevlani, master. Shams, on the other hand, was a wandering dervish monk, rough-hewn, dressed in rags, unshaven and sinewy. He had no formal schooling. People kind of veered away when he walked down the street. But then when they started to listen to him, they couldn't resist him, and they spontaneously would gather around him on the street corners. But he would let people know that he was only in search of one person vast enough in spirit to be his companion. In 1244, on the streets of Konya, I don't know why it's bringing tears to my eyes, but we met Rumi. Rumi was riding a donkey through the marketplace, surrounded by his knot of disciples. And this stranger with dark, piercing eyes stepped out of a doorway and grabbed the bridle of his donkey. And he said to him, "Who is greater, Muhammad or Bestami?" Well, Bestami was a legendary Sufi master who had given himself to ecstatic merging with God. Well, Muhammad was the founder of their tradition. So what was Rumi to answer? So Rumi gave the traditional answer and said, "Muhammad." Shams said back to him, But Bestami said, I am the glory of God. And Muhammad said to him, I can't praise you enough. Rumi was about to reply with the standard intellectual answer, but in that moment, he realized that this wasn't a seminary debate. In this dusty marketplace in south-central Anatolia, he paused to look into the eyes, these deep, dark, wild eyes, and realized that he'd come face to face with the mystery. The doorway to eternity flickered open, and in one pure, outrageous leap of faith, Rumi dove through. In an instant of mystical annihilation, fire met fire, ocean dissolved into ocean, and Rumi actually fell off of his donkey. Later he would say, what I once thought of as God, I met today as a human being. When Rumi revived, his disciples standing around fanning him, he found his words to answer the question, and he said, Bestami took one swallow of knowledge and thought that was all. But for Muhammad, the majesty is continually unfolding. That was his way of saying he was open. He was open. Shams felt the depth of his answer and realized this was the one he had sought. For about 4 years, Rumi and Shams dove into intense, deep, constant communion, immersed in mystical oneness. Shams influenced Rumi to stop teaching about God, to become a lover of God. The two companions were inseparable. They were often so absorbed in dialogue that they'd go long times, days without food. They were absorbed in this state of constant, consuming, devotional love. Rumi ignored his students, and his family, and his wife, and his religious duties, and his children. He left them all. He abandoned life as he had known it, and he fell into this abyss of love. This is one of my all-time favorite lines from Rumi. Let the beauty we love be what we do. I have this sense that Rumi fell into completeness, a sense of deep satisfaction. He was really in the beauty and being the love. Rumi's passion and humor and the value of doing God's work or being in God's work was a passion that overtook him. And it's expressed so beautifully in this short poem. It's called Each Note. Advice doesn't help lovers. They're not the kind of mountain stream you can build a dam across. The stream is powerful and cannot be stopped. The stars come up spinning every night, bewildered in love. They'd grow tired with that revolving if they weren't immersed in love. They'd say, how long do we have to do this? God picks up the reed flute world and blows. Each note is a need coming through one of us. Do you hear that? God picks up the reed flute world and blows. Each note is a need coming through one of us. A passion, a longing pain. Remember the lips where the wind breath originated and let your note be clear. Don't try to end it. Be your note. I'll show you how it's enough. Get up on the roof at night in this city of the soul. Let everyone climb up on their roofs and sing their notes. Sing loudly. Sing your song. Our next piece of music is going to live.
You have some paper on there, and I'd love for you to sing along. It's just a repeat on and on. So how about if I sing the first line and see if you can copy. I'm gonna live in love. A little faster. I'm gonna live in love. I'm gonna do what it takes to let go. I'm gonna take my seat and let love run the show.
Let's really get into it as a commitment. And
Say it as a prayer.
Stand up and sing it together, over and over.
I'm gonna live in love. I'm gonna do what it takes to let go. I'm gonna take my seat and let love run the show. I'm gonna live in love. I'm gonna do what it takes to let go. I'm gonna take my seat and I'll run the show. I'm messing up. I'm gonna live in love. I'm gonna do what it takes to let go. I'm gonna take my seat and love run the show. One more time. I'm gonna live in love. I'm gonna do what it takes to let go. I'm gonna take my seat and love run the show. Amen.
Before you sit down, we didn't have our reading today, so turn to somebody next to you and say, I'm going to let love run my show. There's just a little taste of the love that flows around here, so please stay afterwards for our refreshment time and spread this love, express this love. Let each other know how you are going to let love run your show. Well, the departure of Shams was more mysterious even than his arrival. He left suddenly, and then he returned briefly, much to Rumi's delight. Then one night, Shams was called to the back door where they were staying. He went out, and Rumi never saw him again. It's thought that he was kidnapped and murdered by some of Rumi's jealous students and family members. Think about it. This was a same-sex love affair, and this was a hate crime. They could not handle Rumi's love for Shams, and they didn't support it. After this horrific, unspeakable tragedy and betrayal, Rumi grieved in desolation. He withdrew even further from his world until one day he realized that Shams was within him. He felt a union with Shams in the deepest part of himself, and he came to understand that he embodied this love, this friendship with the beloved, that no one could ever take it away from him. With this final illumination, he began singing the spontaneous poetry of such beauty and perfection that it's now loved and revered across the world as a revelation. If this was a case of murder by jealous disciples who wanted Rumi's attention for themselves, it did not work. Rumi kept focusing on Shams, and he wrote his entire masterpiece to Shams, his friend. Or more precisely, he said it was written by Shams, and that he was just the channel. He said, "The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along." Isn't that a beautiful poem? So now that you understand about Shams, it's not surprising that one of the major themes in Rumi's poetry is the beloved companion. At one level, these love poems do seem to refer to his relationship with Shams, and you hear Shams' name mentioned over and over again in them. And then on the other level, they do truly speak to our human longing for reunion with the divine beloved within. Over the next 25 years of his life, Rumi composed 5 huge books of poetry and other books of his sayings and stories and teachings. In fact, in the last 15 years of his life, it's said that he wrote poetry all day long, every day. No wonder we have so many of his poems. He was on fire with love. Rumi had this orientation of love not just towards Shams, but seemingly towards everything as his life went on. The attitude of someone in the grip of unshakable love. Love for the world, love for God, love for his own innermost heart. He writes of them all in utter adoration. For Rumi, the definition of God's love starts with the capital letter F, for friend. Rumi found that the sublime connection represented for him by Shams, which was beyond words, beyond thoughts and analysis, is how we all must connect to God, with this kind of wild abandon that takes us beyond our thoughts, beyond our intellect, beyond our minds and our thinking and our understanding. So often, sadly though, like Rumi, when Shams disappeared, we feel that we can lose connection with God, with the beloved friend. But its beauty, the beauty of the beloved, is always within us, if we just pay attention. Come back, my friend. Come back, my friend. From the hundreds of times I've lost connection with you, I learned this. Your fragrance brings me back. Inside, I become a feast day with aloe wood burning, the pure empty sky around the moon. Then I make promises, and I break them. And same as before, I wander and I try to find you by thinking and reading about finding you. No help there. Try something different. What was in that candle's light that opened and consumed me so quickly? Come back, my friend. The form of our love is not a created form. Nothing can help me but the beauty. There was a dawn I remember when my soul heard something from your soul. I drank water from your spring, and I felt the current take me. After his time with Shams, Rumi approached life with this open and unbridled passion every day of his life. Not only did he turn into a poet, but he turned into a singer and a dancer. Did you know that he created whirling dervishing? I'd like Jane to come and sing now the next song for us. Awaken, awaken to love, awaken to yourself.
I wrote this a while ago, and I think I wrote it to remind myself in the times that I don't remember
and rain, but even that's too much. It takes a moment to see who you are and to know who you are. You are peace. You are love. You are peace. And when the fog rolls in, you've lost your way, you can spread your arms wide open to find what's here in the mystery. And you see who you are, and you know who you are. You are love. You are peace. You are love. You are peace. And look deep into your hearts. Something is longing. It's the name of love, the way of love, inviting you in. Awaken to yourself. You can't let go. You can surrender. You will see that love is always here. Through the joy, through the pain, through the fear and the shame. So be kind with yourself. Be still with yourself, and you'll see who you are, and you'll know who you are. You are love. You are peace.
Jane, for writing that song. For singing it to us from her heart. That's one thing about Jane's singing, you can feel her heart.
Yes.
Part 3 of this I want to call Tear Down This House. Rumi's writing is not all about bliss. He also sings of the pain that precedes ecstasy or is even a part of it. Sometimes the things that we treasure, our very selves, have to be dismantled in order for new life to have room to emerge. We've got to trust the dark path and return to oneness over and over again. We have to endure destruction before our new selves can be created. Many demolitions are renovations, said Rumi. He writes often about the relationship between a teacher and a student, which is a story of renovations that can feel like demolitions. They are demolitions. The student does get torn down and taken apart from what we used to be. The student really longs to be changed, but the change isn't easy. A good teacher who truly loves the student presses on, doing things that might hurt very much. And so Rumi says, many actions which seem cruel are from a deep friendship. Spiritual transformation is a death as well as a birth. The teachers who help us to grow know that it can't happen without this pain. How many of you have had a teacher like that? A beloved teacher who knew that they couldn't save you from the pain. In fact, they might even have helped to intensify it. I had a teacher like that once. I've had a lot of teachers like that, actually, but the one that came to mind was an English teacher that I had in high school. She was really also a spiritual teacher. I was a bright little abstract thinker, a natural philosopher. And one day, when I was playing with all of these ideas and intellectual games, Gail really challenged me right there in front of everyone. She said, could I connect these bright, sparkling ideas to my own life? What she was really asking me, I realized years later, I don't think she used the words at the time, but she was asking me, could I connect my mind to my heart? Or was it all just a game? Years later, she and I talked about that time on the hot seat in her class, as Gail put it, and she confessed that she hadn't been sure if I would come back. Maybe she had pushed too hard. But I was a stubborn kid as well as a bright one, and I did come back. And I was grateful years later. But also, even right there on the hot seat, for her pushing me. I've returned to that moment many times. I even hung a little sign over my bed that said, "What about you?" To remind myself to consider how the thoughts and ideas were just that, and that what I really needed was to connect to what was important in my life. Rumi tells about the spiritual teacher and the student like this. And here's a poem from him. A chickpea leaps almost over the rim of the pot where it's being cooked. A chickpea leaps over the rim of the pot where it's being boiled. It says, "Why are you doing this to me?" The cook knocks him down with a ladle. "Don't you try to jump out. You think I'm torturing you. I'm giving you flavor. So you can mix with the spices and rice. Be the lovely vitality of a human being." Eventually the chickpea stays in the pot and cooks. The oil mixes in with it, and he gets hit with a skimming spoon a little bit more, and he realizes, I can't do this by myself. Spiritual teachers They can demand a lot, but it's not out of cruelty. It's out of love and necessity, because the spiritual life is demanding. The transformations that we seek are not trivial. In The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, do you know that book, in the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis? Lots of you with children have probably read it to them. C.S. Lewis suggests a different metaphor for spiritual transformation. The character Eustace, who's a complete rat, right? Remember Eustace? He runs into the kind of misfortune that might happen to anyone on a magical island. He gets turned into a great serpent-like dragon. It's because he was selfish and destructive, and so he took on the form that suited him. When he looks at himself and realizes what happened, he tries to take off the skin and become a boy again. But as one might imagine a dragon can do, he's able to molt quite easily like a snake. But every time he molts underneath, he's still the slimy dragon. When he's done peeling off layer after layer, no real difference has been made to his nature. He does it 3 times, but each time the change is only superficial, skin deep. It's only when the great lion Aslan comes along and tears deep into his skin and rips him apart right over his heart that he really sheds his dragon nature and transforms into a human being again and becomes a much better and happier human than he's ever experienced before. And it says the very first tear that Aslan made was so deep that I thought it had gone right into my heart. And of course, that's exactly what it had done. Something holy is buried deep in your life, underneath all of your skins. Will you allow the demolition necessary to dig it out? Allah says, I was a hidden treasure, and I desired to be known. As a commentary on that passage, Rumi wrote this poem called The Pickaxe. Tear down this house. Tear down this house. 100,000 new houses can be built from the transparent yellow carnelian buried beneath it. And the only way to get to it is to do the work of demolishing and then digging under the foundations. With that value in hand, all the new construction will be done without effort. And anyway, sooner or later this house will fall down on its own. The jewel treasure will be uncovered, but it won't be yours then. The buried wealth is your pay for doing the work of demolition. The pick and shovel work. If you wait and just let it happen, bite your hand and say, I didn't do as I knew I should have. This is a rented house. I don't own the deed. You're right, you have a lease. And you set up a little shop where you barely make a living sewing patches on torn clothing. Yet only a few feet underneath are 2 veins, pure red and bright gold carnelian. Quick, take the pickaxe, pry away the foundation. You've got to quit this seamstress work. What does the patch sewing mean to you anyway? Eating, drinking? The heavy cloak of the body is always getting torn. You patch it with food and other relentless ego satisfactions. Rip one board from the shop floor and look into the basement. You'll see the 2 glints in the dirt. Sometimes Rumi just tosses out advice to us about how to get to be one with the friend. He acknowledges that we humans are forever mysteriously being cajoled away from what we're really here for. He said, sometimes I forget completely what companionship is. Unconscious and insane, I spill my energy everywhere. My story gets told in various ways: a romance, a dirty joke, a war, a vacancy. Divide up my forgetfulness to any number, it'll go around. These dark suggestions that I follow, are they part of some plan? I'm here to tell you, friends, be careful. Don't come near me out of curiosity or sympathy. My black sky hates the moon. I am the dark nothing. I hate those in power. I'm invited in from the road to the house, but I invent some excuse. Now I'm angry at the road. I don't need love. I'm even angry at the road. Will someone please break me? I've had my chance for wealth and position. I chose those, but they're not what I really want. I am iron resisting the most enormous magnet there is. So our human hearts, they're full of shadow and light, sorrow and joy, discipline and laziness, difficulty and ease. And Rumi shares with us that this is all part of the river of love. Do you hear me? We have to live these human lives humbly. We have to go in all these pathways. We have to make mistakes and forget. We have to go astray. We have to be demolished. We have to remember. Maybe a dawn breeze has blown the veil from the face of God. 1,000 new moons appear again. Roses open laughing. Hearts become perfect rubies like those from Badashkan. The body turns entirely light. Leaves become branches in the wind. Why is it now so easy to surrender? Even for those already surrendered, there's no answer to any of this. No one knows the source of joy. A poet breathes into a reed flute, and the very tip of every hair on their head makes music. Shams sails down clods of dirt from the roof, and we take jobs as doorkeepers for him. Shams sails down clods of dirt from the roof, and we take jobs being doorkeepers for him. All is one. The ecstasy of pure being, of the love that was before existence happened. The joy is really all there is. For our next song, may the long time love shine upon you. Yes. Oh. Quite a journey that Rumi went on with Shams. And this song, may the long time love shine upon you. May the long time sun shine upon you. It's
Norma, there was a lost manuscript that was found. There was a Rumi poem from actually it was one of his neighbors wrote it. An ecstatic moment. It was, Rumi, why so gloomy? Lost your Rumi?
So feel free to sing along if you are moved while you fill our pot.
So you're taking out your offering right now, and we're going to have our offering takers go around and receive it while the song is going on. Thank you for, this is one way of sharing your love, one way of sharing from your heart to our spiritual community here, to the work that we do and want to do in the bigger way in this world of sharing our love with the world. So please give generously. Enjoy the song.
May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guides your way home, guides your way home. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guides your way home, guides your way home. May the long time sun shine upon you. All love surround you, and the pure light within you guides your way home, guides your way home.
Let's bless our offering by rubbing our hands together, knowing that the energy that comes through you can do miracles. And we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. So it is. Thank you. This last section, in this last section, I just want you to think for a moment about the experience in your life that you've had at some point when you really loved someone deeply. Bring that person to mind for a moment. When you feel this kind of love, it makes you forget everything else. You rush to be with a friend when she needs you. Never mind that you have so much work that you can't spare any time. It doesn't matter. You stay up most of the night with your sick child. You buy flowers constantly and bring them to your sweetheart. Because every time you pass by a display of bouquets in the supermarket checkout or the farmer's market, or when you're walking down the street, you think of him. You unhesitatingly buy that perfect, ridiculously expensive plaything for your grandchild without so much as a mental glance toward your bank balance, because the thought of the delight on that beloved's face exerts a pull that's irresistible. This is what I'm trying to talk to us about today. The central fact of Rumi's life was this deep, mystical love that he had with his friendship with Shams of Tabriz. It led them into a time when they spent months together without any human needs being met even. One night, when they were in this state of mystical communion, a knock came at the door, and I've told you what happened. Maybe a knock has come at the door sometimes in your life. And something that you thought you could never be parted with, someone you thought you could never be parted with, left you. In one way or the other. Rumi said, "The sun is my lover. The lover is a speck circling the sun, A spring wind moves to dance any branch that isn't dead. Any branch that isn't dead. Any heart ready to move with the ecstasy of love can still move. Any part of you will dance, even in its most painful moments. Dance, Rumi says, when you're broken open. Dance. If you've torn the bandage off, dance. In the middle of fighting, dance. Dance in your blood. Dance when you're perfectly free. Since we live where everything is music, everything is dancing. Watch the dust grains moving in the light near the window. Their dance is our dance. We rarely hear the inward music, but we're all dancing to it nevertheless, directed by the one who teaches us the pure joy of the sun, our music master. So who or what is your music master? Maybe Rumi meant the friend or the lover or God as the music master. Or perhaps the music master is whatever teaches us. It can be anything at all. Whatever it has taken to awaken us. To awaken us to this kind of love that commands us the way the planets are commanded by the sun, twirling and swirling without ceasing. The sun, our music master. Don't you get it? Coleman Barks writes about the dervish dancers. They turn. The moving meditation done by Mevlevi and the dervishes originated in his anguish, in this love that had been torn away from him. The story goes that he was walking in his grief in the goldsmithing section of Konya when he heard a beautiful music in their hammering. He began turning in harmony with it, an ecstatic dance of surrender, and yet with great centered discipline. In that moment of turning and turning, he arrived at a place where his ego dissolved and a resonance with the universal soul flooded into him. Rumi's words read like advice to a dancer, advice to a lover of the universe who longs for this communion, the way that only our hearts can long for this kind of fulfillment. He says, keep walking, though there's no place to get to. Don't try to see through the distances. That's not for human beings. Move within. But don't move the way fear makes you move. Walk to the well. Turn as the earth and the moon and the stars are turning, circling what they love. Whatever circles comes from the center. So when we think about the earth, it circles around itself, solid around its axis. And it circles around the sun, held irresistibly in its orbit. That's how we revolve around whatever, whomever we love with unreserved passion. We circle around a center that's in ourselves. And we circle around them. Rumi's words, Rumi's poems, Rumi's dance invite us each to surrender to this love. They tell us that the same love that we feel for our child, our wife, our husband, our lover, our friend, our grandchild, in our peak moments, that this is the kind of love that we're supposed to have for everyone and everything. And when we do this, we'll want nothing more than to keep the strength of that connection, just as the mother holds on to her child or the lover holds on to his beloved. We'll want to circle around forever. The word dervish means doorway. So just being in the presence of this dancing can open up a door to joy and peace. You don't have to go far away to these other lands to see or even hear the words of the sublime poet Rumi and to experience this kind of love, because you know what? It's in our world, right here. There's someone, something longing to be loved right now. Maybe it's deep inside of you. Maybe it's outside of you. All around us. There's something calling us to be centered within our own hearts, on our own axis, and allow our lives to revolve around each thing that cries out to us to be known and loved. We can follow that call to love every little scrap of the world and everyone in it. We are the ones who will dance through the doorway. Thank you, Rumi and Shams. Thank you all for being the people that will dance through the doorway of love. Let's get in our big circle together now. You know what, bring your papers.
You can bring your papers if you remember. We are the people, people of love. Let us, people, love today. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today. We are one under the sun. Let your heart see it this way. Love is something as free as the wind. I give it to you and I'll give it again. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today. Reach out to the one you don't know and give him a helping hand. The time has come for our sacrifice to find the way to our love. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today. We are the people of love. Let us, people, love today.
Conclude our circle today. Turn toward the person next to you and give him a hug. Spread the love.